Hi, I'm Julie, and I'm thrilled to take you on a journey through the fascinating world of AI-based tools. In this video, we'll be exploring one of our absolute favorites, Elevenlabs, a game-changing text-to-speech service. Elevenlabs is not just your run-of-the-mill text-to-speech generator. It's a revolutionary AI tool. It empowers you to transform text into lifelike speech and even offers the remarkable ability to dub into 29 different languages and manipulate voice recordings. This means you can craft a truly authentic AI voice, opening up a world of creative possibilities. Moreover, Elevenlabs also allows you to work with long-form voice generation projects, such as audiobooks, long-form video, and web content. Speaking from experience, I can confidently say that Elevenlabs stands out as one of the most realistic AI voice generators available. We'll explore how Elevenlabs can be used with avatars, delve into using it for audiobooks, and even touch on some advanced uses, like using the API with a Python script. We'll discuss potential business ideas that could benefit from text-to-speech technology and share our thoughts on the future of these incredible tools. Furthermore, we'll also share a hilarious mishap with a speech-to-speech example that rendered the speech incomprehensible. However, it ended up being quite amusing and demonstrated some creative ways to use it. We'll also showcase other ways we have utilized text-to-speech voices that could potentially be employed for faceless social media channels. So, if you're ready to unlock the potential of Elevenlabs and the world of text-to-speech, let's dive right in. As we enter the dashboard, you're greeted with a clean and intuitive interface that has been recently updated to ensure a seamless user experience. The main dashboard is where you'll spend most of your time, and it's designed to be user-friendly, even for beginners. The main menu, which used to be at the top of the screen, can now be found on the left. Let's explore the top 4 menu options first. Firstly, we have the speech category. Here you can generate realistic and captivating speech in a wide range of languages, perfect for creating lifelike voices for various purposes. In the history section, you'll find a complete list of all your generated samples ready for download. It's your library of previously created content, making it easy to manage and access your work. Under Projects, you will find the Advanced Speech Synthesis Editor, ideal for long-form content and full document conversions. This feature opens up exciting possibilities for creating audio content for audiobooks, long-form videos, and web content. Next is the Voices category, where you have the tools to shape and explore a library of synthetic voices. Under Create, you will find Voice Lab, where you have the ability to design entirely new synthetic voices from scratch, clone your own voice, or use a voice for which you have permission and rights. You can also choose from the library. You can access the same library via the Explore tab. The next feature is called Dubbing, which allows you to take your content to a global audience. With voice translation, speaker detection, and audio dubbing, you can easily translate your videos into 29 other languages. Finally, the Subscription tab is where you can check for pricing and plans. I'll go ahead and click on Create under Speech so that we can convert some text to speech and see how this performs. Under Task, we have 2 options, Text to Speech and Speech to Speech. We'll select Text to Speech. We will write in some text and click Generate to listen back to our finished clip.
Your spoken script will be generated and will play it back to you. If you want to download your clip, you can click on this download icon in the player that appears. I'll click to download.
And there, we have our first text-to-speech clip spoken by Confident Dylan. He's got a really nice voice, I have to say. Speaking of nice voices, let's have a look at what's available. At the top, we can see our recently used voices. Underneath that, we have a section for the voices that we have cloned ourselves. Below that, we have the generated voices. These are made with a voice design tool and allow custom creation with gender, age, and accent choices, akin to pre-made quality, but may require multiple attempts to find the right fit. And finally, we have the pre-made voices. These offer high-quality, free-to-use options suitable for most needs and can also be shared in the voice library, where you can earn back characters from your used quota when users use your shared voice. Next, let's have a look at the voice settings, and for that, I'll pick my own voice. We'll click the voice settings drop-down menu. I'll paste some new text in first. The stability setting up at the top that you have been listening to for most of the video has been set to 30%, currently at 0%. I'll change it back to 30%. Increasing variability can make speech more expressive with output varying between regenerations. So if you are looking for a specific emotional tone, it's a case of trial and error. Let's now bring it down to 0. Note that bringing it down too low can lead to instabilities. You can get some funny speaking manners out of this one. Personally, I love playing with this. If we set it to 100%, the speech becomes more stable, but may be a bit monotone. For tutorials like this, I think the default works just fine. Let's now look at clarity and similarly enhancement. Low values are recommended if background artifacts are present in generated speech. The recording I cloned this voice from is actually quite high, so having done some testing prior to this, there was little difference between the extreme settings. I'm going to change the voice for this, where I had some recordings of lesser quality.
But I find the settings are subtle. Perhaps some really badly recordings are necessary to notice a clear difference. So currently it's at default. Now I'll move it up to 100%. Although this does sound like me, the accent is a little off. I have an Irish accent and there's a little twang coming through, in between British and American, I think. It seems as if my accent changes a little as I move it up. Let's now move it to 0%. And for the sake of talking, let me tell you something about me. People say that I have schizophrenia, but I'm good people. I'm also a bit of a kleptomaniac, as I take things literally. I've been doing this YouTube thing because I'm out of work. I used to work at a calendar factory, but I got fired. All I did was take a day off. Although it's subtle and you may need headphones or good speakers, the 0% is definitely clearer and has less noise and artifact. Finally, let's have a listen to the style exaggeration setting. Again, I found that with my own recorded voice, the changes were more noticeable. And it seems that some of my accent comes through depending on the settings. They say that high values are recommended if the style of speech should be exaggerated compared to the uploaded audio. Higher values can lead to more instability in the generated speech, and that setting this to 0 will greatly increase generation speed. This is the default setting. I'm going to switch back to the video's main voice.
The last option in the settings section are the different voice models we can choose from. There are 4 models that we can choose from. The multilingual version 2 model is known for its stability, diverse language support, and excellent voice cloning accuracy across 29 languages. The experimental multilingual V1 is not recommended for extended use due to bugs and limitations, as multilingual V2 surpasses it in various aspects. English V1, the oldest model, is specialized for English and is fast but less versatile. Turbo V2 is optimized for low latency applications, offering good accuracy for instant voice clones. The voice you are listening to now is the multilingual version 2 model. Let's now have a look at the other tabs. Under the History tab, you can look through your previous generations. You can download selected files or remove them. You can also play back the clips and see which settings were used for the generations. Next, we'll explore projects, where you can effortlessly generate, edit, and customize spoken audio within a streamlined workflow. Let's click on Create New Project. We have 3 options, and I'll select Start from an empty project. First, give the project a name, then choose your voice and model, followed by selecting the desired output quality. Please note that each quality level is associated with different costs. Higher quality incurs more character cost. For this demo, we'll choose Standard. Under Download Settings, you have the option to normalize the volume to meet audiobook standards. Audio normalization for audiobooks adjusts audio levels to ensure consistent and balanced volume throughout the recording, creating a comfortable listening experience by leveling out loud and soft sections. I'll leave this option off. You can also choose to add metadata, which provides descriptive information about the data, making it easier to understand and manage. We'll skip this step. Lastly, there's the option for pronunciation dictionaries, which provide correct word pronunciations with phonetic transcriptions or symbols. They assist individuals in accurate pronunciation. We'll skip this as well. Here's where we compose our content and organize our project into chapters for focused editing. It functions similarly to a word processor, allowing you to create titles, H1, subtitles, H2, H3, etc., and paragraphs. To rename a chapter, simply click on the cog icon here. Let's rename our first chapter to Introduction. If you wish to add a new chapter, click the plus button here and provide it with a name. You can preview highlighted sections by clicking the play button at the top. When attempting to download your clip, you'll receive a message indicating that the chapter needs to be converted first. Just click on Convert to initiate the conversion process, after which you'll be able to download your converted content. You can also access the download options located at the top right corner. There are 3 choices: Project Download, Chapter Download, and Chapter Versions. In the settings, we have the option to modify the project name and default voice. Please keep in mind that the model and quality settings are fixed at the beginning of the project creation. Great. Now that we've looked at projects, we'll now revisit the Voices menu that we briefly looked at earlier. To access the 4 voice creation options, we click on the Create tab and then the plus button labeled Add Generative or Cloned Voice. This brings up our voice creation menu. Let's first look at voice design. At the top, we can pick between a female and male voice. We can choose our age as young, middle-aged, or old. We have 5 accents: American, British, African, Australian, and Indian. We also have a choice to choose the accent strength. Let's generate our first voice and see what that sounds like.
Stay away from those people who try to disparage your ambitions. Small minds will always do that, but great minds will give you a feeling that you can become great too. Mark Twain.
Let's now try out a male voice. I'll pick old from the age dropdown with a British accent. I'll also set the accent to high. Click Generate.
We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them. Albert Einstein.
Let's reduce the accent to low and see what that sounds like.
We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them. Albert Einstein.
That sounded a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Note that when I press Generate again, it will generate a new voice. So you can experiment with this until you find your desired one.
We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them. Albert Einstein.
And just one last one for good measures. And this time we'll put the accent at 158%.
We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them. Albert Einstein.
Although this voice was a little bit loud and sounds a bit distorted, I'll click on Use to demo how to save it to your library. We simply give our new voice a name at the top. Underneath that, you can add some labels. For this, you give it a property and a value, for example, age is old. In my case, I'll choose motivational and good. You can give it a description, but let's say we don't right now, then we can always edit the voice details later. I'll click Create Voice. Let's now look at the instant voice cloning. For this, you will need a clean sample recording. Samples should contain 1 speaker and be over 1 minute long. It shouldn't have any background noise. If you find that your recording has a lot of noise, You can always use something like the Adobe Speech Enhancement tool, which I always use to clean up my speech recordings. I'll leave a link in the description for that. For our cloned voice, again, give it a name. You can record directly to Elevenlabs or drag and drop up to 25 sample files. After conducting extensive testing, I have found that having more samples or longer samples doesn't necessarily result in improvement. It largely depends on the speaking style and whether the model is trained to emulate it. For instance, the samples I'm using here consist of clips of my 5-year-old daughter speaking, and she can't pronounce things correctly. It's very childlike. However, when we train the model with these samples, the generated speech retains the same tonal aspects, but with correct pronunciation of words. Let's try out our new voice. But before that, let's now give it a short description. We click on Edit, and we can then provide a voice description in the description box. Click here to confirm that you comply with their terms and conditions, and then click Edit Voice. We're now ready to use our voice. Let's see what it sounds like.
When you give joy to other people, you get more joy in return. You should give a good thought to happiness that you can give out. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Very cute. But her real voice and the speaking manner is so much cuter. It would melt your heart. I suppose you'd like to hear a bit of the real voice, right? Let's have a quick listen so we can compare.
I got breakfast and I ate very slowly, and I went to school a bit late. No, I went to school a bit slow.
You did great, darling. I better get back to it.
And then, I went to Roisin's really quick.
Ah, that's nice.
And then I went to school. But once I went to school and
Sorry, babe, I really need to get back to it.
I know.
People are watching this on YouTube. They're here to learn about Elevenlabs. Isn't she so cute? Okay, sorry guys, where were we? Oh yeah. Let's listen to some of the voices in the library. And one of the ways to access is via the Create tab, and we choose Voice Library. We can see here, I've already added some voices to my voice library, which allow you to select it from the drop-down menu on the speech synthesis. To add a voice to your library, click this option. If you want to preview the voice, click on Sample.
Let us always meet each other with smile, for the smile is the beginning of love.
I'm not interested in age. People who tell me their age are silly. You're as old as you feel.
Here at the top, we can select categories that the voices are tagged with. Note you can also combine the categories. In the top right, we can also sort our voices by trending, latest, most users, and most characters generated. Next up to that, we have some advanced methods to filter our voices, where you can choose the category type being professional or voice design, following by gender, age, and accent. Our last option under voice creation types is the professional cloning. I've tested this out with my Irish accent, but I didn't provide the recommended amount of audio, preferably closer to 3 hours, so my Irish accent didn't really come out properly. I have yet to try this out with the required amount of recordings. Before we move on to dubbing, just a quick note that you can also access the same voice library we just looked at via the Explore tab under Voices. Now, let's explore Elevenlabs' powerful dubbing feature. As mentioned, the dubbing technology allows you to translate your content into 29 different languages. This can really help open up new possibilities for content creators reaching global audiences. I'll give the project a name. To test it out, I'm going to grab a clip from the Internet Archive of a video from 2020 during COVID time, spoken in German by former Chancellor Angela Merkel. Let's play the clip.
Heute haben wir 20.815 Fälle, 3.500 mehr als vor einer Woche, 4.257 belegte Intensivbetten gegenüber gestern, die Zahl von heute ist noch nicht da, und 590 Tote.
Ah, those were the days. To dub this video, we can select both the source and target language. I will pick English from the target drop-down list, and although I know it's German, let's see if Elevenlabs can detect it. With our settings selected, we can now go ahead and click on Create. For those who want more control, there are advanced settings to fine-tune your dubbing project. Let's now view our creation.
Today we have 20,115 pallets. 3,500 more than a week ago. 4,257 occupied intensive care beds compared to yesterday. Today's number is not yet available.
I'll pause it there for a second. You may need to play this over again a few times, but it didn't get it perfect. But isn't it unbelievable? She even has a German accent. Now, listen to the last bit. My mind is blown.
Then we would have missed something. We should not do that.
Did you hear that? It even had the applause at the end. Let's listen to the end of the original to hear that applause.
Etwas versäumt haben, das sollten wir nicht tun, meine Damen und Herren.
That's incredible. Now, before we look at some of the more advanced stuff for developers, let's just quickly wrap up on the other menu items. You have subscription, where you find the details about your plan and pricing, contact information, and as you can see, there are several departments you can contact, documentation, and tools, where you have the AI speech classifier. This is where you can upload audio clips to see if it was created using Elevenlabs. Now that we've looked at all the menu options, next we'll briefly discuss Elevenlabs API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. An API is a set of rules and protocols that allow different software applications to communicate and interact with each other. It defines the methods and data formats that applications can use to request and exchange information. APIs enable developers to access the functionality of a software system or service without needing to understand its internal workings. This topic is a bit advanced for this video and would require a separate video on its own. However, we will provide you with an example of what can be achieved with a Python script using this API in conjunction with ChatGPT's API. So, in the next segment, we'll explore a Python script that interacts with Elevenlabs. While we won't delve into all the intricacies, we'll provide you with a high-level overview of its functionality. If you're interested in a more in-depth tutorial, consider enrolling in Daniel Davis' Skillshare course, where he guides you through the process step by step. This Python script automates the process of summarizing news articles and converting them into a podcast-like format. The script itself can be broken down in 10 steps. Step 1. Import necessary libraries. To start, we import the required Python libraries and modules for your script to work effectively. Step 2. Load environment variables. Following that, we use the .env library to load environment variables from a .env file. These environment variables contain sensitive information like API keys. Step 3. Set API keys. With the environment variables loaded in Step 2, we proceed to set the API keys for the OpenAI and Elevenlabs services. Step 4. Define the RSS feed URL. In this step, we specify the URL of the RSS feed you want to process, which has been blurred for legal and copyright reasons. Step 5. Process RSS feed. Moving on, we parse the RSS feed using the feed parser library. We retrieve the latest news stories from the feed, and we limit the number of stories retrieved to a specified number. Step 6. Prepare chat input. To prepare for the next phase, we create a variable named stories to store the news headlines and summaries. Then, we loop through the retrieved news stories, and we concatenate their titles and descriptions into the stories variable. Step 7. Process with OpenAI's ChatGPT. In this crucial step, we use the OpenAI API to interact with the ChatGPT model. We create a chat conversation with a user, message requesting to rewrite the news headlines and summaries in a discussion format suitable for a podcast. We pass the collected stories as the content of the user's message. The ChatGPT model will generate a response in a conversational style. Step 8. process audio with Elevenlabs. Following that, we specify a voice ID for the desired audio output. We make an HTTP post request to Elevenlabs text-to-speech API to convert the generated chat content into audio. We provide the chat content and voice settings in the request payload, including the required headers and authentication information, such as the Elevenlabs API key. If the request is successful, we save the generated audio as an MP3 file. Step 9. Handling errors. We also plan for the possibility of errors. If there is an issue with the audio generation, HTTP status code is not 200, we print an error message or response. Step 10. Processing complete. Finally, we wrap up the entire process by printing a message indicating that the entire processing has finished, ensuring that all steps adhere to legal and copyright regulations. Let's now listen to the exported voice clip, our first automated podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of our one-off podcast. We've got quite a range of news stories to cover, so let's jump right in. First up, we have the Nottingham attacks, where a court has accepted the guilty plea of Valdo Calocane. It's been reported that his pleas were accepted due to his serious mental illness. Moving on, we have the Israel-Gaza war. The IDF has sadly announced that 24 soldiers were killed in Gaza on Monday alone. This marks the deadliest day for Israel since their ground operation began.
You get the picture. So this wouldn't be a bad business idea. If you want to see some of the business ideas we have suggested, you can check out our longer video. Just click the card popping up now and skip to about 27 minutes in. For now, we'll wrap up this video, but let us know in the comments if you'd like us to cover some more of this advanced stuff or anything else you'd like to see related to Elevenlabs. Hope to see you soon.